This group of lessons is an assessment to see if students have mastered how satellites work. In Lesson 3.21, we introduced the project. Students use Scratch to program an animation that answers the question, how do satellites use wave behavior to receive and transmit data? We start with a review of block coding in Scratch. The students then plan their animation, including developing a storyboard on the How Does a Satellite Work worksheet. We end class with a unit concept checkpoint, a set of conceptual questions that we discuss as a class. Lessons 22 and 23 are work days. Students finish planning the sprites that they'll need using the worksheet. Once they have a good plan, it's time to open the computers and start coding and animating in Scratch. Pass out the rubric and have students self-assess their progress as they go. And do a warm-up where students share tips about using Scratch with one another. For Part 4 in Lesson 24, pass out additional copies of the rubric so that students can use those for peer review. You decide how many peers each person must review. To share the animations, have half the students set up their work to present while the other half circulates around the room as reviewers, and then they'll switch sides. Make sure that students complete their peer review before moving to the next animation. And then end class with a whole class debrief. Just a reminder, as students are working and reviewing their peer presentations, remind them to think about their animation as a way to illustrate the flow of energy. Where does it come from, and where does it go next? Speaking of next, coming up in the next group of lessons, students will create infographics using satellite data that will motivate people to reduce their ecological footprint.